She said, "Don't touch me again." I just grinned and did it anyway. The massive station world floated at the center of the galactic Concord, a shining ring of metal and light surrounded by distant stars. Hundreds of species walked its halls every cycle, yet when Aaron entered the inner chamber, all sound seemed to fade. His boots echoed softly against the polished floor as towering alien delegates watched him from raised platforms. At the center of the chamber stood the Sentinel Core. It did not look like a weapon. It did not look like a machine either. The core was a tall, smooth structure made of shifting crystal and dark metal, its surface flowing like slow water. Faint light moved inside it, changing colors in calm, steady rhythms. Ancient symbols hovered around it, forming and dissolving without pattern. Aaron stopped a few steps away. His hands stayed at his sides, but his eyes never left the core. Every species in the Concord knew the story. The Sentinel Core was older than recorded history. It had been discovered drifting between galaxies, silent and inactive. The first race that tried to study it vanished within a single cycle. Their worlds went dark. Their cities turned to dust. After that, the core was sealed away, guarded by treaties, laws, and fear. No one was allowed to touch it, especially not humans. "You have already violated protocol once," said Ambassador Kareth. Her voice echoed through the chamber, calm but sharp. She stood taller than any human, her pale, silver skin reflecting the chamber lights. Her eyes, black and unblinking, were fixed on Aaron. "That mistake will not be repeated." Aaron met her gaze without lowering his head. He had learned that too. Many species took lowered eyes as weakness. "The contact was accidental," Aaron said. His voice was steady, simple. "I tripped. My glove brushed the surface." A low murmur passed through the chamber. Some delegates shifted. Others leaned closer, curious despite themselves. Kareth did not react. The core responded. Aaron nodded. Yes, it did. That was the problem. When his glove had touched the surface, the core had changed. Its lights had brightened. The symbols had reorganized. And for one brief moment, Aaron had felt something inside his mind. Not a voice, not a command, but a tension, as if the core had noticed him. "Human clumsiness does not excuse human danger," Kareth continued. "You will remain at your distance. You will not approach again." Aaron glanced at the core. The flowing light seemed slower now, deeper. He had the strange feeling it was aware of the conversation. "I understand the rules," he said. Kareth stepped closer, her long robe trailing behind her. "Then understand this as well. The core is not curious. It does not test. It judges. Those who fail do not survive." Aaron did not argue. Humans had learned early that arguing with ancient beings rarely ended well. But inside his chest something stirred, because when he had touched the core he had not felt judgment. He had felt a question. The chamber doors sealed behind him as Aaron was escorted out. Armed Concord guards flanked him, their weapons visible but not aimed. They did not need to aim. The threat was clear enough. Outside, the main corridor buzzed with life again. Floating translators hummed. Different gravity fields overlapped. Scents from 100 worlds mixed in the air. Aaron exhaled slowly. "Captain," said Lieutenant Myra Chen over his comm, "your vitals just spiked. You okay?" "I'm fine," he replied. "Just finished the meeting." There was a pause. "That bad, huh? You could say that." Aaron walked toward the human delegation sector. The walls shifted colors as he passed, responding to movement and mood. He ignored it. His thoughts were elsewhere. The core had reacted to him, not to the aliens, not to their scientists, not to their machines. To him, that made no sense. Humans were new to the galaxy. Barely accepted. Still considered unstable by most elder races. Their history was filled with wars, mistakes, and near extinctions. And yet the core had woken. Back in the human quarters, Aaron sat alone in the observation room. Stars drifted past the wide viewport, distant and quiet. He removed his gloves slowly, turning them over in his hands. The right glove still showed faint discoloration where it had touched the core. Myra entered without knocking. "They're watching you," she said. "Half the Concord wants you grounded, the other half wants you studied." Aaron smiled faintly. "Sounds about right." She leaned against the wall. "You didn't tell them everything, did you?" "No," he said. She waited. "It wasn't a weapon," Aaron added. "It wasn't angry. It was curious." Myra frowned. "That's worse." "Yeah," he agreed. The lights in the room dimmed slightly. A soft hum filled the air. Aaron stiffened. Myra noticed. "What is it?" He stood slowly. The hum was familiar, too familiar. "The core," he said quietly. Across the station, deep within the sealed chamber, the Sentinel core shifted. Its symbols changed faster now. Energy flowed outward, touching systems that had been dormant for centuries. No alarms sounded. No weapons activated. It was reaching. In the observation room, the stars outside the window rearranged themselves, forming patterns that made no astronomical sense. Myra stared. "That's not normal." Aaron felt the same presence again, stronger this time, clearer. A single idea pressed against his thoughts, simple and direct. Touch. He closed his eyes. Kareth felt it too. She froze mid-step as the station lights flickered. Ancient warning signs lit up across her translator display, symbols she had never seen activated before. "No," she whispered, "the core was not supposed to do this." Security teams rushed toward the inner chamber, but the doors would not open. Systems ignored commands. Power flowed where it wanted. Aaron opened his eyes. "It's calling," he said. Myra grabbed his arm. "Aaron, don't. Whatever this is, it's not human. You don't know what it wants." He looked at her, calm and certain. "That's why I have to go." He turned and walked out before she could stop him. The corridors seemed to guide him, lights brightening ahead, dimming behind. Guards tried to intercept him, but doors sealed and reopened just long enough for him to pass. When he reached the chamber, Kareth was already there, standing before the sealed barrier. "You were warned," she said, her voice tight. "Do not touch it again." Aaron stepped beside her. The barrier dissolved like mist. The core stood before them, brighter than ever. "I didn't mean to break your laws," Aaron said softly, "but it asked." Eth stared at the core, fear and awe fighting in her expression. "It destroyed worlds." "Maybe," Aaron said, "or maybe those worlds failed to answer." He stepped forward. Kareth reached out instinctively. "Don't." Aaron's lips curved into a small, calm grin, and he reached out his bare hand toward the living light. The moment his skin made contact, the galaxy held its breath. The moment Captain Aaron Hale's hand touched the Sentinel core, the station did not explode. There was no flash of fire, no scream of alarms, no sudden death. Instead, everything became very quiet. The light inside the core softened, spreading like a slow sunrise through crystal. The sharp symbols hovering around it dissolved and reformed into smoother shapes, moving with purpose instead of warning. The air felt warm, almost gentle. Aaron did not pull his hand away. Ambassador Kareth staggered back as if struck by an unseen force. "This is impossible," she said, her voice shaking. "It should be destroying you." Aaron felt no pain, no fear, only awareness. The presence he had felt before was now clear. It was not inside his head but around him, like standing in deep water that moved with thought instead of waves. The core was not speaking in words. It was sharing meaning. Images formed in Aaron's mind. Stars being born, galaxies colliding. Civilizations rising and falling like brief sparks in a long night. He saw species that had ruled for millions of years, frozen in tradition, afraid to change. He saw others burn too fast, consumed by power. And through it all the core watched, not as a judge, as a witness. Aaron breathed slowly. He did not fight the images. He did not try to control them. He let them pass. That simple choice changed everything. Across Veli's Prime, systems began to react, not violently but precisely. Power grids adjusted, data streams rerouted. Ancient locks opened that no one remembered placing. In the conquered command center, alarms finally sounded. Unidentified system override, a technician called out. Source, the Sentinel core. Council members shouted over one another. Some demanded immediate evacuation. Others ordered weapons online, even though every treaty forbidden it. Kareth's communicator pulsed. She ignored it, her full attention fixed on Aaron and the core. The symbols now mirrored human mathematical patterns. Base 10, predictive curves, decision trees. It was learning from him. Aaron, Kareth said carefully, stepping closer. You must withdraw. The core is adapting to your species. That has never happened before. Aaron's voice was calm, because no one ever answered it. Her eyes narrowed. Answered what? He opened his hand and stepped back, breaking contact. The core's light dimmed slightly, but it did not shut down. It waited. It's not a weapon, Aaron said. It's a test, not of strength, of thinking. Ev's long fingers trembled. You cannot understand it fully. No, Aaron agreed, but we understand questions. Security teams finally forced their way into the chamber. Weapons were raised but not fired. No one wanted to be the one who started a galactic disaster. Lieutenant Myra Chen pushed through the guards. Aaron, are you insane? He turned toward her. Probably, she stared at the core. The whole station just bent around you. It bent around the core, Aaron corrected. I just listened. Kareth raised her voice. This meeting is over. Human Captain, you are relieved of authority pending full investigation. Aaron nodded. That's fair. The core pulsed once, stronger than before. A wave of data spread outward, passing harmlessly through flesh and metal alike. Every screen on Veli's Prime lit up with the same simple symbol, a branching path. Then, a translation appeared in hundreds of languages. Choose. The chamber fell into stunned silence. This cannot be allowed, shouted one of the elder delegates through the chamber speakers. The core must be shut down. We can't, replied a technician. It's not overriding us. It's asking. Ev's gaze remained locked on the symbol. Her people had hidden the core for generations, telling themselves they were protecting the galaxy. But what if they were only protecting themselves? Aaron stepped forward again, stopping short of touching the core. It wants to see how we choose, he said. Not just me, all of us. And if we choose wrong, Kareth asked. Aaron looked at her. Then we learn. That's what humans do. Myra shook her head. That's what gets humans killed. And what keeps us alive, Aaron replied gently. The council called an emergency recess. Delegates argued across secure channels. Some demanded the core be destroyed. Others wanted to study it. A few quietly wanted to follow where it led. Hours passed. The core remained active but patient. Its light adjusted to the station's cycle, dimming as artificial night fell. Aaron was confined to human quarters, guarded but not restrained. Myra sat across from him, arms crossed. You know they might blame us for everything, she said. They always do at first. And if this thing decides humans are a threat, Aaron smiled faintly, then it already would have acted. She studied him. You're sure it's not manipulating you? I'm sure it's listening, he said. That's different. Outside the viewport, the branching symbol still glowed faintly against the stars. In the Elder Archives, Kareth accessed sealed records older than her civilization's modern form. She read of the first contact with the core, of fear, of a council decision made in panic. They had not failed a test. They had refused it. She closed the archive and looked up at the stars. For the first time in centuries, uncertainty felt like opportunity. Back in the core chamber, the symbols shifted again. New paths formed, more complex, more open. The core was not waiting forever. It was waiting for someone brave enough to choose forward. And for the first time, the galaxy realized humanity had already done so. The emergency session of the Galactic Concord lasted longer than any meeting in recorded history. Voices rose, translators struggled to keep up, and ancient laws were pulled from memory vaults that had not been opened for centuries. All the while, the Sentinel core remained calm, glowing softly in its chamber, waiting. Captain Aaron Hale sat in a small, secure room near the human sector. The walls were plain, designed to keep minds steady during long waits. A transparent barrier separated him from two conquered guards, who stood silently and avoided looking directly at him. They did not know whether he was a hero or a danger. Lieutenant Myra Chen paced back and forth. "They're scared," she said. "Every elder race is scared." Aaron nodded. "Fear makes people loud. And dangerous," she added. Across the station, Ambassador Kareth stood before the conquered council, her posture straight but her thoughts unsettled. She had lived longer than most stars' recorded names, yet today felt heavier than centuries before it. The symbol from the core still hovered on the central display, branching and shifting slowly. "This gathering must decide," said the High Arbiter, an enormous being of layered stone and light. "The Sentinel core has reactivated. It responds to humanity. This changes everything." "It proves what we feared," said another delegate sharply. "Humans are destabilizing. Their presence awakens threats we sealed away long ago." Kareth raised her hand. The chamber quieted. "Or," she said calmly, "it proves that we misunderstood the core from the beginning." Murmurs rippled through the council. "We believed it judged us," she continued. "But our oldest records show something else. The core did not destroy the first civilizations out of cruelty. It presented them with a path. They refused." "That is interpretation," the delegate replied. "So is fear," Kareth said. The High Arbiter turned its many eyes toward her. "You propose we follow the humans' example." "I propose we stop hiding," she answered. At that moment the core pulsed. Every member of the council felt it, not as pain, not as force, but as awareness. Data flowed into their translators, images forming in shared space. They saw themselves, their histories, their decisions to preserve stability by stopping progress. They saw borders drawn not for safety but for control, and they saw humans, small, new, fragile, and always moving forward. Back in confinement, Aaron felt it too. He closed his eyes as the presence brushed against his thoughts again, gentle but firm. "Choose," it seemed to say. Myra stopped pacing. "Do you feel that?" "Yeah," Aaron said softly. "It's asking again." "For what?" "For honesty." The guards shifted nervously as the room lights dimmed. The barrier shimmered, then faded. No alarm sounded. Aaron stood. Myra grabbed his arm. "Where are you going?" "To the council," he replied. "They need to hear this from a human." "They didn't invite you," he smiled slightly. "The core did." They walked out unchallenged. Doors opened ahead of them, systems aligning without resistance. By the time they reached the council chamber, the debate had reached a breaking point. "Human influence must be contained," one elder race demanded. "If the core bonds with them, the balance of the galaxy will collapse." Aaron stepped into the open space. "The balance is already broken," he said. Every eye turned toward him. Kareth felt a strange sense of relief. "You fear change," Aaron continued, his voice steady and clear. "We do too, but we don't let fear stop us from trying." "You are reckless," the High Arbiter said. "Yes," Aaron agreed, "and careful when it matters. We make mistakes, then we fix them or we try again." The core's symbol shifted, forming a new branch that aligned with Aaron's position. Myra held her breath. "You sealed this thing away because it scared you," Aaron said. "Not because it was evil. It asked you to move forward and you chose stillness." A heavy silence followed. Kareth stepped beside him. "The human is correct," she said. "We preserved peace but at the cost of growth. The core reflects that truth." The High Arbiter considered this. "And what does humanity seek in return for this awakening?" Aaron shook his head. "Nothing. We didn't come here to rule. We came to learn." The core pulsed again, brighter this time. New data streams appeared, showing possible futures. Some were bright, some dark. None were fixed, paths, not outcomes. The council saw something they had not seen in ages, hope mixed with responsibility. Still, fear lingered. "What if humanity fails?" one delegate asked quietly. Aaron met their gaze. "Then we'll face the consequences. Together. That's the part you've been avoiding." The core's light steadied as if satisfied. In the days that followed, changes spread across Veli's Prime. Research teams were allowed limited access to the core, not to control it but to observe. Humans were included not as leaders but as participants. Aaron was cleared of charges but remained under watch. He did not mind. He spent hours near the core, never touching it again, only listening. Kareth joined him often. "You have altered the course of the Conquered," she said one cycle. "No," Aaron replied. "It altered itself. We just stopped holding it back." She studied the core. "Do you know what it will do next?" He shook his head. "But I know what it won't do." "What?" "Stand still." Far beyond Veli's Prime, ancient systems awakened. Not weapons, gateways, knowledge stores, signals meant to be answered. The galaxy was beginning to move again, and humanity was no longer walking alone. The changes did not arrive like a storm. They came like a slow tide, steady and impossible to ignore. Across Veli's Prime, research halls once sealed were opened. Old star maps were pulled from forgotten archives. Alien scholars worked beside human engineers, sometimes arguing, sometimes laughing, often surprised by how easily ideas flowed when fear stepped aside. At the center of it all, the Sentinel Corps continued to glow, calm and patient. Captain Aaron Hale spent most of his time nearby, not as a commander but as a witness. He stood at a respectful distance, hands behind his back, watching patterns shift and symbols form. The Corps did not demand his presence, but it acknowledged him when he was there. Ambassador Kareth joined him often. She spoke less now, listened more. "The Council has agreed to a trial," she said one quiet cycle, her voice low. "A full evaluation, not of the Corps, of us." Aaron turned slightly. "That sounds dangerous." She gave a faint smile. "Growth usually is." The trial was not announced with banners or speeches. The Corps itself initiated it. Without warning, the branching symbol expanded, filling the chamber and then spreading across the station's displays. This time, it did not ask for a choice. It presented a scenario. A simulation unfolded in shared space. Not virtual in the human sense, but immersive, touching thought and emotion alike. Every delegate, every observer felt drawn into it. They saw a distant system, rich with resources but unstable. A young civilization lived there, unaware that their star would soon become violent. The data was clear. Without help, the species would not survive. The question was simple: intervene or observe. Some delegates reacted instantly. "We cannot interfere," one elder voice insisted. "That violates non-intervention law." Another argued, "If we act, we risk altering their development." Humans in the chamber exchanged glances. Myra Chen spoke softly, almost to herself. "We've faced this before." Aaron stepped forward. "What happens if we do nothing?" The Corps responded, projecting the outcome. The star flared. The world burned. The species ended quietly without ever knowing why. Silence followed. "And if we intervene?" Kareth asked. The Corps showed another path, technology shared carefully, warning signs given early. The civilization struggled, adapted, survived. Their culture changed, but they lived. Debate erupted. "This is manipulation," one delegate shouted. "This is mercy," another replied. The Corps did not react. It waited. The High Arbiter finally spoke. "This is the true test, is it not? Not power, responsibility." The symbol pulsed once. "Choose." This time the council voted. It was not unanimous, it never was, but the decision was made. They would intervene. The Corps accepted the answer. The simulation faded, replaced by new data, coordinates, timelines, methods that respected growth without control. Human engineers leaned forward, already thinking through solutions. Alien scholars added safeguards. For the first time, the Conquered acted not as rulers but as caretakers. The mission succeeded. The distant civilization survived. They never learned of the Corps. They never saw the Conquered. They only saw warning signs in the sky and found ways to adapt. Word spread quickly. Across the galaxy, long-dormant systems activated. Gateways that had been sealed reopened. Knowledge stores unlocked. Not weapons, but tools. Some elder races grew uneasy. They are changing the balance, whispered critics. Humans are at the center of it. But others began to understand. Humans were not commanding the change. They were enabling it. Aaron felt the weight of it one evening as he stood alone by the viewport. Stars drifted slowly, ancient and patient. Myra joined him, arms folded. You ever think about what happens if this goes wrong? All the time, he replied. She nodded. Good, that's very human. The next trial came sooner than expected. This one was closer. A border conflict flared between two long-feuding species, both members of the Conquered. Old grudges reignited, fleets mobilized. The Conquered prepared sanctions, warnings, delays. The core intervened, not with force, with clarity. It projected both sides' histories into shared space, not edited, not softened. Every broken promise, every fear. Every moment where peace had been possible but rejected. Delegates from both species were forced to see themselves through the eyes of the other. The effect was immediate and painful. Talks resumed within hours. Weapons stood down within days. For some, the core became a mirror they could no longer avoid. Not everyone welcomed it. A coalition of elder races began to push back, quietly at first. Restrictions, committees, delays. They feared what they were losing, control. Kareth confronted them in private sessions. You ruled through stillness, she said. The galaxy does not need rulers anymore. One elder replied coldly, and humans will rule instead. No, she answered. We will all be accountable. The coalition made its move during the third cycle. They attempted to sever the core from the station using ancient override codes, codes that had never failed before. The core allowed the attempt. Systems powered down around it. Barriers fell. For a moment it seemed they had succeeded. Then the core spoke, not in words. In consequences, the override triggered a cascade that shut down only the coalition's access. Their ships lost coordination. Their data feeds went dark. No damage, no harm, just silence. The message was clear. You may step back, or you may be left behind. Aaron watched the aftermath from the chamber's edge. It didn't punish them, he said quietly. No, Kareth agreed. It showed them the cost of refusal. In the end, the coalition rejoined the Conquered under new terms: transparency, shared responsibility, no sealed knowledge. The galaxy shifted again. Weeks passed, then months. Humanity's position changed, not through declaration, but through trust. Other species began requesting human mediators, human problem solvers, not because they were perfect, but because they admitted when they were wrong. The core's light grew steadier, its patterns more complex. One cycle, as Aaron stood near it, the presence returned more strongly than ever. This time it shared not a question, but a burden. The core had guided civilizations before, many. It had watched them fail. It had waited. Now it was offering stewardship, not to humans alone, to all who chose to move forward. Aaron felt the weight of it press gently against his thoughts. He did not accept, he did not refuse, he stepped back. Kareth noticed. It offered you something. Yes, he said. And you declined. I deferred, he corrected. That choice shouldn't belong to one species. The core pulsed softly, agreement. The council was convened again, but this time the tone was different, less fear, more resolve. The High Arbiter spoke with quiet respect. We stand at the edge of a new age, not guided by ancient fear but shared responsibility. The Sentinel core glowed brighter than it ever had before. The trial was not over, but the galaxy had passed the point of no return. And for the first time in its long history, it was moving forward together. The galaxy did not celebrate with fireworks or grand speeches. There were no songs written in a single night, no statues raised in a single place. Change came quietly, the way all lasting things did. Veli's Prime continued to orbit its star, calm and steady. Ships still arrived and departed. Trade still flowed. But beneath the familiar movement, something deep had shifted. The Sentinel core no longer felt like a threat. It felt like a responsibility. Captain Aaron Hale stood in the chamber one last time, hands folded behind his back. The core's light moved in slow, thoughtful patterns now, no longer sharp or urgent. It had grown quieter, not weaker, but settled, like a mind that had finally found listeners. Ambassador Kareth joined him, her presence calm but heavy with thought. "The Council has finalized the agreement," she said. "Stewardship will be shared. No single race will control the core, not even mine." Aaron nodded. "That's the right call." She studied him. "Many believed humanity would demand leadership." "We've tried that before," Aaron replied softly. "Didn't work out so well." A faint curve touched her lips. "You surprise us still." Around the chamber, representatives from dozens of species observed in silence. Humans stood among them, not at the center, not at the edges, simply present. The core pulsed once, and a final projection filled the air. Not a test, a farewell. It showed images of the galaxy as it was long ago, isolated worlds, silent distances, fear of the unknown. Then it showed the present, paths opening, voices connecting, choices being made together. And finally it showed nothing. No future, no promise, only space. The message was clear. The future no longer belonged to the core. It belonged to those willing to carry it. Slowly the core's outer light dimmed. Its symbols faded, locking into a stable pattern, not asleep but complete. A chapter closed. Across the conquered, news spread quickly. The Sentinel Corps had stepped back. Not gone, not destroyed, simply no longer guiding every decision. Some feared this. Others felt relief. Aaron felt something else entirely: trust. Life moved forward. Months passed. Joint exploration fleets launched beyond known routes. Human pilots flew beside alien navigators. Engineers argued over designs and then laughed over shared meals. Old rivalries softened as shared challenges replaced ancient grudges. Not all conflicts vanished. They never would. But now they were faced openly. Myra Chen received her own command, overseeing a mixed-species task group. On her departure day, she clasped Aaron's arm. "You started something big." "We all did," he replied. She smiled. "Still, try not to wake up any more ancient mysteries." No promises. Aaron declined promotion after promotion. He remained a liaison, a bridge rather than a banner. He traveled often, listening more than speaking. On a quiet world near the edge of conquered space, he stood beneath an alien sky, watching twin suns sink toward the horizon. Kareth joined him via HoloLink, her image steady. "The Council wishes to honor you," she said. "A permanent seat, a title." Aaron shook his head. "I'm not built for thrones." "You have already changed history. So have billions of others," he replied. "They just don't get invited to chambers." She studied him for a long moment. "You are difficult to categorize." "That's been humanity's problem from the start." She inclined her head slightly. "And perhaps our salvation." Far away, deep beyond map space, signals began to return answers. Not from threats, from travelers, from watchers who had waited just as the core once had. They saw movement again. They saw courage. And they took note. Back on Veli's Prime, the chamber that once held the Sentinel Core was transformed. Not into a shrine, but into a place of meeting. Transparent walls replaced barriers. Light filled the space. Children of many species visited it now, guided by teachers who spoke not of fear but of choice. One human child asked, "What did the core do?" A guide answered simply, "It reminded us that standing still is also a decision." Years passed. Humanity's name became linked with a strange reputation across the stars. Not conquerors, not saviors, instigators. Those who touched what others feared, not to claim it but to understand it. Aaron aged slowly, quietly. His hair grayed, his steps softened. But his eyes never lost that calm spark. On his final visit to Veli's Prime, he stood once more in the old chamber, now filled with gentle voices and soft light. He felt no presence press against his mind this time. The core was silent, as it should be. Kareth stood beside him, her lifespan far longer than his, her gaze respectful. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Touching it?" Aaron considered the question. "No," he said, "because it was never about touching." She tilted her head. "Then what was it about?" "Listening," he replied, "and then acting." She looked out at the gathered species, at a galaxy no longer frozen by fear. "You grinned when I warned you," he chuckled softly. "I do that sometimes when someone tells me to stop." She echoed the sound, a rare thing. "Humanity will continue to surprise us. That's the plan." As Aaron departed the station for the last time, Veli's prime shone behind him, no longer the center of control but a crossroads of cooperation. The galaxy was louder now, messier, more alive. And far from the old chamber, beyond ancient fears, the future stretched open, untouched, waiting for hands brave enough to reach forward again.